All right, welcome back to Blue by 90. I'm Justin, joined by Jack and Kalen. Oh
No,
wait,
Kalen.
That's
oh
two
wait,
episodes in a row now.
No, Kalen.
Kalen's not here either. So Tanner's here with us though. Jack, I'm just happy to have you back, man.
I woke up from my hibernation. Ate a lot of food after the season was over. Got a few months of rest, and I'm back. It's exciting to be back with you guys. Excited to learn about what's been going on with Michigan football.
A few months of rest.
A few
Wow,
months, little hiatus.
that's like, hibernation, honestly.
Yeah.
So, but no, it's good to see you. Good to hear your voice. Good to have you back. There has been, a lot has happened since the offseason. I don't know if you knew that or not.
No, I was hoping to learn some things here.
Michigan recruiting through the roof.
I'm loving it.
It's
obviously I don't know what is exactly is happening, but honestly, so I'll say this. Here's where, all right, we've been getting dogged because of recruiting for the past 5 months, right? Everyone's like, you won a national championship, you can't you can't recruit off of it. Obviously, we had a coaching change. Obviously, we had a lot of things. I was sitting here not panicking at all because this is what has happened a lot with Michigan over the past few years, where we sit idly for a while and then things pick up. We end up with a top 20 class. Everything's fine. But things have really picked up recently. It's more than like a late little surge. I feel like we're coming into our own in the recruiting world.
Yeah, as a guy who I can't quit recruiting. Like I thought with NIL and the amount of there's so many more decommitments and you never know what's going to happen. But I love it. Like it's the rush of it. It's it's like seeing Steve Lorenz posted something like, let me go. I'm getting into bed. Like I leave all the notifications on 247. Like let me see what Steve and Bryce got to say. Steve's talking about a top 100 receiver visiting this weekend instead of Oklahoma, and it's like the same equivalent high of like, oh, Michigan just got like a 25-yard play. Like it's just that way to kind of stay connected, right?
I did want to. Okay, I'll stop you there real quick before you keep going. I wanted to ask this because I do think that to some, a recruiting win sometimes is bigger than like getting a 5-star QB. Is that better than beating Fresno State?
Yeah, as long as you still beat Fresno State, right? Like you could beat Miami, get all the 5 stars, and then go 5-7. But yeah, I think Justin, we talked about this too, probably on air, off air. I think with a fairly new coaching staff, as far as guys that were at Michigan last year or previous years, like there's a lot of new faces, right? But then you see a guy like Lamar Morgan go and get a top 50 recruit out of Washington, D.C., Kanoa Winston, big time safety prospect, right? Like you start to see, the new D-line coach, and I'm not going to say his last name because I've never said it before, so I'd probably butcher it. But like top 100 D lineman out of Illinois, got his buddy who's a top 150 D lineman. He's in on a bunch of guys. Like I think you're just starting to see kind of the effort that they put in February, March, April, post spring ball starting to pay off. And then you go and get the top 100 quarterback Brady Hart in the 2026 class, who maybe had the best quote of all time for a quarterback commit or just any commit in Michigan history.
Go ahead with it. Yeah.
I don't have the exact thing, but basically I'm just speaking from the heart here, Jack. You can feel free. You can feel free. I don't have the exact quote, but I will paraphrase. So he visited Michigan this weekend. He goes to Ohio State to camp, right? As part of the road trip. Ohio State offers. He commits to Michigan while he's at Ohio State. I don't know who he called with his right.
So basically what happened was JJ calls him while he's at Ohio State and says like, dude, I can't remember verbatim what it was, but it was basically like, if you want to like be a winner, you know where to go. Like if you want to go, I think it was something like, if you want to be the best that you can be, go to the hardest place where you think like, take the hard route. Like there might be an easy route. I think he's probably referring to like Ohio State's probably going to pay a lot of money. They, have developed QBs a lot, whatever. He's like, go the route that you think you're going to like develop the most and become the best human being. and Brady Hart essentially hung up the phone, called Sharon, called Kirk Campbell, and committed on the spot. Like,
weren't JJ's parents involved as well? Weren't they
I
on
think
campus
so.
or something? Like the
Yeah.
best family ever. Thank you,
right.
first of all, for
Literally.
your son.
Yes,
Appreciate you. Thank you for maybe our next JJ. But so the quote that really struck a chord with a lot of people, specifically in the capital of Ohio. So Brady Hart said, when I walked out of Ohio State, I realized the culture that Michigan has isn't everywhere. I love this kid.
I mean, I was trying to find the quote, had to go to blueby90.com. Found it pretty easily. And I was just about to say that. And then, you took the words right out of my mouth, Tanner. Good job.
Hey,
I mean, for him to say that shit while he's in Columbus, probably like in what is it, the Schottenheim Centers or whatever their practice facility is, like already a legend, already a Michigan legend at that point, and his name's Brady Hart. Like, come on.
I do have to say, one of my favorite things about seeing all those things, and when he committed, the Ohio State fans are like, not a take. I'm like, he literally got offered like 22 minutes before he committed to Michigan.
Can I say this too? So I had that graphic made of him saying, or him committing while he was on a visit to Ohio State, is what it said. Like, Brady Hart committed on a visit to Ohio State. There was like 20 Buckeye replies underneath it that was like, he was at camp, dude. He wasn't on a visit. He was at camp. He was at camp. I'm like, dude, you have to be down so bad for it to be like, hey, man, like, the only win we have is that he didn't actually commit on his visit. He committed at camp instead. He committed to Michigan at camp while he was on our probably like 10 minutes after he talked to Ryan Day and Brian Hartline. But it wasn't a visit, dude.
Yeah, that was some grade A copium from the Buckeyes on that. Yeah, they seem to have a lot of that, like they're the ones really spearheading the Michigan recruiting class sucks thing on social media. Which is funny because this time last year, Michigan had the number 1 class in the country, and it was like, oh, it doesn't matter. And now, Michigan's sitting at 37 in the composite, but I think their average rating is like top 10 in the country. It might be number 8, right? So it's a smaller class at the moment, but it's very dense of highly rated kids. And I think after this weekend, I think Michigan has a chance to surge into the top 25 and maybe even in the top 10 if they have some commitments fall and some dominoes fall this weekend. So, it's just, at the end of the day, it's a fun thing to follow. I don't think it means as much as it used to, just because of the amount of decommitments, the amount of guys that sign a letter of intent and then go elsewhere and roll elsewhere, and they transfer after 6 months. Like, it just doesn't really matter that much. It's fun to follow. It's entertaining. A lot of twists and turns, right? Like, I love signing day, reading the other team's message boards when they, get a big commit or lose a big commit. Like, I think it's, it's entertaining, but Ohio State had the historic class in 2021. Those guys are all 0-3 against Michigan.
I agree with you. That's where, like, every Ohio State kid, every Ohio State Twitter just keeps like, they're like, oh, look at our number 1 class in the nation. I'm like, I honestly don't care whatsoever. Like, you can have as many dogs as you want. Yeah, you have unbelievable talent. There's no doubt about it. You're recruiting at a very high level. I'm honestly jealous. There's for sure some jealousy there. But the reality is, like, you still got to go play the game. And we've won the last 3. And so until until November comes, and if they win that game, then I'll change my tune. But until then, like, you still got to have guys in your building that are going to win that game.
Well, I would say to the jealousy comment, I don't have any jealousy because if you guys recollect, I'd rather get a win in January, 2 wins in January,
two,
than a win in February or December. But we also won in December because, the Big Ten championship, we were there.
We did. Yes.
Jack, you were vibing.
I was having a great time. I almost fell down all those stairs, but I had a great time.
Forgot your DoorDash at our hotel door. That's okay.
Our DoorDash. I forgot our DoorDash at the door. Had a great night of sleep, though.
Yeah.
Great night of sleep.
That's what happens when you win in December. You know?
Yeah, not the first time it's
Yeah.
going to happen, not the last.
Well,
Not the
listen,
last, you know,
it's
we
hard.
progress, we learn from our battles, and we move on.
When you win as much as we do, it's hard not to have those moments. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I don't even remember what it feels
is.
like on the other side. You know?
No, I can't remember myself either. What I actually do enjoy about recruiting currently is the Michigan coaching staff is very back on Twitter.
I love it.
Oh yeah,
give me something to get fired up over.
I need a Wink Martindale t-shirt.
Yes,
I think that's Nolan's next project.
Wait, can we do a Photoshop on a t-shirt of Wink, but he's the guy on the fuck around and find out meme? He's the guy drawing it.
Can we see if we can just get his likeness for $1 and we'll split the profits 50-50? Wink. If you're listening to this, I doubt it.
Probably
Maybe you are. He seems like a guy who wants to enthrall himself in the culture.
Yeah,
he's a guy's guy.
You know, I think what you could do is, like I saw it, they did one for Sketch, and they do a bunch where it's just like 5 like photoshopped like photos of somebody on a t-shirt, and it just says like Wink Martindale.
Oh,
just
dude,
with the cutoff sleeves.
I did that for Brad Robbins. It ended up kind of sick.
Okay.
I think Justin's got a shirt.
I do. I have a Brad Robbins shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we gotta do that for Wink. That'd be sick.
I did see Moody and Robbins yesterday as well too. Gave him a big hug.
Nice. They swing by the office or what?
Yeah. Just good guys. Good guys.
The best.
Yeah, they're just crushing life. They're doing a lot better than us financially, physically, emotionally.
Absolutely.
As they should. They deserve it. They deserve it for sure. But all right, what else do we want to talk about? As you can tell, we really script these out.
If you
we did a lot of preparation before.
Like if you come for like any hard hitting analysis or like insight on recruiting, as we just proved, this is not the place for that. We just kind of wing it. We're a vibes podcast. We go off the vibes. Well, here I've got a visual aid that I think is something we could maybe start to talk about a little bit, Justin.
We do better with visual aids on this podcast because I know Jax himself personally struggles to read.
Yeah, not my strong suit. Reading, writing,
I wasn't great in school, but I was really good at show and tell. So that, that kind of factors in. But here, I'm not going to show the box, but I'm going to show this little thing. This is so we can record gameplay for College Football 25. We got some ideas cooking, got some things we want to do with the game. I'm going to become a father right around the same time. So, I'm not sure which accomplishment I'm going to be more proud of, becoming a dad for the first time or taking Ball State University to the CFP. I got to figure out my priorities here. But we're going to be doing some cool stuff with College Football 25. I know we talked about it a lot last episode. I am absolutely just fucking jacked for that game to come back. I know probably everybody listening is as well. So, yeah, I got some cool stuff coming down that route. Justin, we hooked you up with a new mic, new webcam. Like, we're just upgrading over here.
New mic, new webcam. I think I have to figure out. I've got a gaming headset here. I think I got to figure out maybe a different headset. But
yeah, can we invest in a nice headset for you?
Yeah, we can do that. Although I do kind of like it gives me D coordinator vibes.
Yeah,
like I can put it up, put it down. You can do this a little bit. I like this move. What's your best headset move from a coach?
Oh, we know number one should be easy for us.
It's the mask over top of it.
Yeah, 100%. It's the Jim Harbaugh boner mask. That was the darkest period of my life. Just based on Michigan football, pandemic, whatever. I could handle getting smoked by Wisconsin and watching the memes go up of his face mask. And to see where he took the program over the next 3 years is honestly mind-boggling. We don't talk about that enough. We don't talk about Michigan's 40-3 record over the last 3 years enough, honestly. I think we should talk about it every waking moment.
Was it 40-3? Wow. That's
40 of 43.
That's almost it's like a what's the average there? 1 loss a year? Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, 3 playoff trips, 3 Big Ten championships.
I do
back to back. So
I do like this one where the coach goes like this and takes it only 3 inches farther away, and then they just scream at somebody as if whoever's on the other end of this can't just hear every single word of it. Like I think that's cool.
I think in the new game they should ship it with a headset. Like you guys remember SOCOM on PS2? It would come with a headset in the box for like online play. And I know you guys never played SOCOM.
I played
Incredible
kid.
Okay, well I did too, Jack. I won a state championship in football. I don't know if you knew that. Or
I
not.
talked to girls.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
but I was like 6 when it came out. All right, come in some slack. But I think they should ship the same version of Justin's headset with the game, and then have like some sort of detection on audio to like you can scream at your players, you can tell them you're going to cut their NIL funding, like just some mini games like that. I think would really up the atmosphere.
That'd be a great
sports. If you're hiring, I'm available for consulting. I got a lot of ideas like that. I think that'd be nice. Maybe have the Gainesville police on speed dial in case you need to cover something up. I don't know. Just some ideas out here.
I don't hate that idea. Now
you're thinking.
I did look back. I had some things written down for podcast ideas, segment ideas. So we've touched on a couple of them kind of. Ohio State's recruiting is absurd right now. Does it matter? That's what I wrote down.
I think we've already proven it doesn't. Last 3 years.
I think to a certain extent it does, though. I think the one thing about Ohio State is that they continually get, I think they have like 5 or 6 DBs committed right now. They have however many receivers. I think it comes down to just sometimes with them a lack of bodies. And they also don't move on from their bust like most top 5 programs do. Like I feel like you see guys sit there for a while and they don't move on from them and they never get better. And they were maxed out in high school and they were ranked top 10 in the country because they looked really good in shorts and a t-shirt at a rival's camp or something. And so, yeah, recruiting matters
here. Who are the examples of the bus? I need some examples.
I don't have any on top of my head, but I think you see it throughout their roster. Like if you go look, like I can go look. Thanks for putting me on the spot like that. You sound like a Buckeye.
Hey, you said it. You said it, dude. I'm just trying to get information here.
That was a reply on Twitter to like
it 100% was. And on Twitter, I have the ability to go and no, actually, no, it wasn't, Justin, because it wasn't a personal attack or like something about my family or something.
That's true. They didn't like do like extensive research for hours and hours until they found your like mom's middle name and yeah, that's usually how it goes.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that with Ohio State, thanks, Jack, again. I mean, now I have to like research it. Yeah, I mean, they definitely make upgrades at positions. They definitely go and get Caleb Downs. They go and get Will Howard, which certainly. But yeah, I mean, I just think that they sometimes prioritize the stars so much, but it does matter. Recruiting does matter. You definitely see it in the NFL draft. Most first round picks are 4 or 5 stars coming out of high school. So,
but okay. So yeah, they have a lot of those guys, but my question is, does that fix their problem that they have right now? And honestly, like it's a Michigan problem, right? That's it. Like that's the only game they're losing. And Michigan had an Ohio State problem for a long time, right? Michigan obviously lost more games in those years than Ohio State was.
You know what I think is funny though too? It's like Michigan. It wasn't just an Ohio State problem. Like there were other big games we were losing. It was like a big game problem. Like Ohio State they competed with. They almost beat Georgia in 2022.
Yeah, and they lost. They didn't get to play in January because they lost actually at like 11:59 and 57 seconds.
That they did. They did lose.
Go ahead though.
But like, yeah, it literally is just a Michigan problem. They can beat every other team or like even compete. But
so that's my point is like, if you put Ohio State on paper against Michigan the last 3 years, like if you sim that game in NCAA, like Ohio State wins, right? Like, maybe in 2023, Michigan has probably as good of a team on paper. But still like, that's a Rod Moore 3-star becoming a really great player, right? That's like a Max Bredesen making a difference. Even if Blake Corum wasn't like, he was a 4-star, but like not unbelievable. And so I think like that's my point. It's like it's kind of like, you know, at times you like throw money at the problem, and it's like, okay, throwing money at the problem doesn't always fix it. You got to like change how you do things. And so, you know, maybe they are changing how they do things inside that building. I don't really know. But like to me, it's like, okay, yeah, you go get Caleb Downs. He's going to be a great, I mean, apparently he's playing running back right now too, which is like they already have the number one so-called running back room in the nation. But I still think that there's some culture issues. Like there's some not getting the most out of certain guys in that building still.
Who's Caleb Downs? Is he a transfer coming from somewhere or recruit or what? I know nothing.
He was a freshman All-American at Alabama last year and was really, really good. Although, friend of the program, Max Bredesen, had a couple moments.
Oh, it's the guy that Brady was
murdered
fucking,
him.
Yeah, piling into the ground.
Killed him. Brick killed him.
I recognize that guy now. Yeah.
With a trident.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that leads me into my next point was, okay, Michigan has won with culture the last 3 years, right? It hasn't been, you know, especially you go back to 2021, like that team. I mean, you even, you know, not honest to God, not trying to take a shot at Cade McNamara, but like he, you know, probably he's not winning a lot of those games by himself. They won through like culture. They had great leadership. Cade was a great leader at that time for sure. And so they were definitely not a, you know, Cade McNamara versus CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud is better 20 times out of 20, right? Like, and so Michigan has won with culture. Now, if they keep trending to where they're trending with recruiting and they become an elite recruiter as well, what does this Michigan program look like with elite culture and elite recruiting?
You're a powerhouse.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any team's going to have any sort of Alabama run, and I certainly wouldn't say that Michigan would, unless they were able to recruit at a top 5 level annually. And when you talk about that Alabama program, they recruited at a top 1 level for many, many years. I mean, they were number 1 all the time. But I think, you know, it's funny. I always wondered, could Michigan win a national championship today? Like, I always wondered. And they didn't win it today. They won it 5 months ago. But, you know, I think that Michigan can certainly be a team and a program that's similar to Ohio State. When you look at Ohio State, they're consistently really, really good. And they have years where, you know, they win championships. I'll be honest, the last 10 years, they probably had 3 or 4 teams that should have won a national championship with the amount of talent that they had, the quarterback that they had, the playmakers all over the field. And so that's, you know, and those Ohio State fans know that it's really hard to win national championships, right? So I think what that looks like, if Michigan can become a top 5 recruiting program that is able to bring in guys that fit the program and fit the culture, because I think that's what you saw early in Harbaugh's tenure, right? They had top 5 classes. They had top 10 recruits. They had a bunch of 5 stars, and a lot of them flamed out. And I think Jim really kind of changed who he was as a coach. I think 2020 really changed the program for the better. So Michigan can certainly recruit at a top 5 level. I think the people that complain about the Michigan NIL, and I've been one of them, I think I'm starting to come around to the fact that, no, Michigan is really competitive in that space, right? Like, it's not a problem. I think the newer staff is, you know, hurt some things. I think the uncertainty of the previous regime hurt some things. I certainly think moving forward, and I think you're seeing it for the 2020, I think that 2026 class could be monstrous. I think this year with Sharon, we'll see how things are on the field. You always kind of get that new coach bump, right? Like, yeah, Michigan just won the national championship. Typically, a new coach in or selling hope, you know. But Michigan went 15-0. So for them, it's about producing on the field at that same level. And I'm not saying they're going to go undefeated again, but continually winning those big games, going on the road, winning, being dominant in the way that they have been. I think you add all those things up, I think you will see Michigan's recruiting uptick. And they don't need to be top 5 to win championships, as they've proven. They've got to have a high hit rate on the guys that are lower. Right? That
was what I was about to say. Obviously, you guys know I'm biased on the NIL thing, right? Like, there's no hiding that. But I do kind of laugh when people are like, Michigan's so behind in NIL. 2 years into the NIL era, they've won the national championship. What more do you want?
Right.
Yeah, they don't have top 10 or top 5 recruits that are, that, but
no Ferraris on recruiting visits.
but it's turning out that doesn't win you championships. Right? It might get Texas a championship. I don't know. They're going to be really good in 2024. But that's my take on it. Is it just having the most money? Does that mean you're good at NIL? Or is it how you utilize NIL and keep a good locker room and have culture and that? It's all of those things.
Well, I think that's what it is too, is everybody thinks you're only successful at NIL is if you can bring in a ton of money. And obviously, that's, it's part of it, sure, but
sure,
there's a lot of other, aspects of it.
There's a million other variables. Do you you're telling me that you want to pay out the ass for some 5-star that's a dickhead and ruins the culture in your locker room? That's the difference to me. There are other teams around the country that are doing that and they're losing. Texas, you say, oh, who's got the best NIL? Texas A&M has the most money by far, right? That is the narrative out there. Guess what? They have the worst program in the country. They're struggling. So that's where I'm I agree with you, Jack. I think it's the way that you put it is it just the way that you measure how good at NIL you are is not just who has the biggest budget. It's how you use it. It's how you build your program around it. And it's the guys that you bring in with the NIL. That's how you're going to win a national championship. So,
and I think the cool thing about it too, and I'm sure you see a ton of this, is connecting guys with the right business partners and getting them involved in networking and building their brand and setting them up for success. What if the NFL doesn't work out? They've got experience handling business with other companies and already have their foot in the door because maybe they worked with them on something. And there's so many different aspects to it that you can, we could probably talk for days and weeks on it, but yeah, obviously Michigan's doing something right.
I don't know how much better it can get than 15-0 and 15-0
right.
in Natty. You know what I mean? So I do think though, Tanner, to your point on it is the future. It feels like Michigan is figuring out how to utilize NIL to get a few more of those upscale top of the top recruits. And, at the end of the day, the data does show recruiting wins. That's why, everyone's I definitely think there's a culture piece to it. And you have to figure that out, how to build a program. But there's definitely a correlation between Alabama winning a bunch of titles and Alabama having the number 1 recruiting class year in and year out for 2 decades.
Yeah, well, I think the thing you look at too is, it's not a perfect science, right? Chris Jenkins was a 3-star because he was a 6'3", 240-pound edge player coming out of high school. Well, guess what? He puts on 50+ pounds, moves inside, and is a 2nd-round pick, right? And that doesn't account for what the recruiting services say. Mason Graham was a 3-star when he committed to Michigan, right? And so if you're able to find those guys who maybe are a little bit under-recruited and turn them into superstars, we could talk at length about Michigan's past 3 rosters and the amount of guys that were unheralded recruits, all the way from Hassan Haskins to Mike Sainristil to Chris Jenkins to Mason Graham. Colston Loveland was kind of unknown when he committed to Michigan, right? And so I think recruiting is extremely important. Stars are extremely important, right? But if you can find a couple guys a class that perform like 5 stars in the way that Michigan has over the past few seasons, that's what allows you to win the national championship while having, I think Michigan has the 3rd lowest blue chip ratio, which blue chip ratio is if 50% of your roster is a 4 or 5-star recruit, right? Michigan had, I think this season has the 3rd lowest. I don't know what they were in the past, but that you know what I mean? You have to be able to supplement, and with the transfer portal too, right? Yeah. AJ Barner played a high 4-star, but he was a guy from Indiana that nobody really kind of knew about.
Yeah. I think the reality is for sure, Michigan had one of the most unique rosters in national championship runs ever, right? If you look at, I don't know the stat on this, I bet you it's out there, but like Michigan's roster is probably like from a star standpoint, the lowest rated national champion maybe ever or in a long time.
For sure.
It is in this era. It is. So the composite ranking of like total talent, I think was 14th in the country.
Right.
And everybody else is like top 3 when they win.
Right. So like it is, I'm not saying it's like, you know, you just need culture and no NIL or no recruiting. Like we're not saying that. Right. But like, you know, and I'm definitely not throwing away the fact that like, you know, what Michigan did is an anomaly compared to what the past 15 national champs have done, right? But there's more to it, is all I'm saying. And I think that Michigan did a pretty damn good job of putting together like one of the best rosters in college football history this past year. And I'm not saying that that's the best talent, the most NFL, you know, Hall of Famers or something like that. But you did have 15 draft picks. You did have, you know, you're going to have a lot of guys that are successful in the NFL, and a lot of those dudes are just, they're dudes is what they are. So it leads me into my last point then, which is, speaking of stars, high star recruits, getting Brady Hart, getting that highly touted QB, is that the basis? Is that the start to like launching your recruiting class? Because that's how it went with JJ. That's how it went with JJ. You got JJ as a 5-star QB, and like the rest of the class just took off. And I think that being able to recruit around a high star QB is definitely one of those keys.
Yeah, I think JJ had so much of a culture aspect to him too, and just like rounding guys up and helping build that class. But I mean, yeah, if you're a, you know, stud receiver and you look at Michigan's quarterback room and the talent they're bringing in, I mean, that's something that you're going to take in as a factor, right? And guys that want to win games, and if Michigan continues to win on the pace that, you know, they have been past few years, and you keep bringing in, you know, quarterback talent, obviously that's always going to be the leader of the team. Yeah, I feel like it just draws guys in. So yeah, it doesn't hurt, especially when you can, you know, you see Buckeyes were all hyped up about them and they wanted them, and you can steal them from them, and they're supposed to be like this powerhouse recruiters. It's fucking huge. Momentum is just heading up to Ann Arbor.
Yeah, momentum is everything in recruiting, right? Because like I think you're starting to see that with Michigan's 2025 class, where, you know, you got some talented guys in there, and it was kind of quiet for a little bit. And then you get some momentum, and you get a guy to commit, and you get another guy, and you get another guy. So with a quarterback getting committed this early, I mean, we're talking about 2.5 years before he signs, right? Like that, I think, is a building block of a great recruiting class, to have a quarterback be the leader of the class, be the oldest tenure, because he's the first commit in that class.
Right. To
have him be kind of the longest tenured commit,
and again,
kind of rally the troops.
Like, who knows what happens, because we've all talked about like the flip-flopping.
Oh, 100%.
And decommitting and all
it's
that
more
stuff.
Rare for quarterbacks, though.
I do agree with that. Like, I feel like once you lock that guy in, because the thing is, to Jack's point, like that guy's recruiting everyone else. So for them to flip like late or something is basically throwing the middle finger to everyone else in your class, because you recruited them.
Well, and the spots fill up at quarterback, right? Like they're only taking one typically a class, especially for the higher rated guys. So I definitely think it's much more rare with quarterbacks, and that's why you see guys stay committed for so long, and they are able to build the class.
Where was he at? You know this, I'm sure, Tanner, but where was he at in terms of like that class for
top QBs and overall ranking?
I think he's a top 100 kid right now, top 10 probably at his position. I think he's a kid that's going to move up. I mean, he's 6'5". He's got an effortless throw. Just throwing motion is really nice. Like, I think he's going to be a kid that probably moves up the rankings as he goes to more and more camps, and his game film comes out. So yeah, I mean, because he just completed his sophomore year, so he's going into his junior year. So a year and a half till signing day. My bad, I had the math wrong. But
quick update here: BlueBy90.com, 92 overall, 7th ranked quarterback, a little shorter than we had hoped, 6'4". But he's what, a sophomore?
He's
He can get a
16-year-old kid,
6'5".
so
he
yeah.
still
He can get a
definitely
6'5".
can grow.
He's still
I mean,
growing.
he's going to go outward for sure. He's going to get thicker.
Yeah, 7th ranked
How many
quarterback.
C's? I don't know what he'll end up at, but no, I mean, seriously though, like that kid, I like what you're saying though, Tanner, that, I mean, he's got a lot of room to physically grow, mentally grow. Like, I mean, that's huge. And, I don't know. I think that like when you become a Michigan commit at that age, like JJ did, and JJ is a unicorn of a human being, like the most mature 21-year-old of all time, possibly. But you figure it out. Like you kind of get used to it by the time you're that freshman on campus. And so, I mean, we've got some time, we've got some QBs in the barrel, right? Like, I mean, we've got Jaden Davis is still sitting on the sideline this year, most likely. Who knows? Who knows if Orgy's the QB for 2 years, if Davis is the QB for 2 years, if Tuttle's the QB for a year, and then who knows how the situation plays out. But
still got Jaden Denigal as well, who I think has got some.
Yeah,
I think he reminds me of Wilton Spate a little bit. Isn't the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, so I think I will say I obviously you got to do a lot of things around the QB position, and how Michigan did it was the offensive line and defensive line first. But I feel very good where we're at right now, and I do just feel like the next couple weeks and couple months, it's going to be a lot of Michigan heat. I'm going to be posting a lot of rocket emojis for Michigan recruiting here soon.
Well, and the one thing that I'll add too is that, say what you want, Ryan Day is a really good evaluator of talent at quarterback, and the fact that he offered him within however many minutes of seeing him throw is extremely encouraging. Seriously? Not only is it extremely encouraging, it's absolutely hilarious that he committed moments after Ryan Day offered him.
We have to touch on that one more time, because it's like it just does not get better. It does not get better. I think I can't remember who put it out there, but it really is just like you can't script that better, man. You literally can't script that better. Like, that's exactly how I want every recruitment to ever go down.
Did you see his Ohio State tweet, like his offer?
Yeah, that was the last tweet that was up before he committed to Michigan.
I love that. He's trolling Ohio State fans, getting them all to follow him, and then he posted he commits to Michigan.
Yeah, so his
culture fit.
Yeah. Blessed to receive an offer to Ohio State University. I don't know if you noticed an omission of a word there.
Oh.
And the picture is Kyle McCord throwing out of Michigan's end zone on the run.
That's pretty great.
You know what's sad is I know exactly what play that is, just from like the position.
That is your Rain Man Michigan football.
Well, just process of elimination. I could tell you exactly what play that is, but that is just masterclass trolling out of our beloved QB1 in 2026.
Do you think, like, when did he know? Like, when he posted that Ohio State tweet, do you think he was like,
the crystal ball started rolling in like 10 minutes after?
So
I put up a tweet of his offer and then like the first crystal ball from Sam Webb, and it was like 20 minutes.
That's incredible.
That's unbelievable.
I mean, it's
you know what? Hey, is that orchestrated? Because Ohio State does this to Michigan a lot.
I know.
Right? Like they try to, Aaron Scott, corner last year, pulls out the Ohio State jersey out of the Michigan backpack. It was the most telegraphed move of all time. But they do that, right? They love to get guys to go to Michigan. And when you see Hayes Fawcett, like I'll see guys that commit to Ohio State and they'll say over Michigan. I follow it pretty close. Had no idea Michigan was still in the mix, right? And yeah, technically they did because they offered. Right, but
it did say the Hayes Fawcett tweet did say over like LSU, Ohio State, and whoever else.
It's true. I mean, he was offered 7 minutes before then, so it's just. So that's what I want to know: is this orchestrated? Did Sharon say, "Hey, do this"?
I feel like if you commit to somebody else while you're on their campus, that's about as in the mix as you can get. I mean, you're literally in the mix.
Right. Well, I mean, you guys, it's not the same thing, but just on the topic of like kind of rubbing your rival's nose in it on the trail, like Terrell Pryor took an official visit to the Michigan-Ohio State game and like was very much like, dapping up the Ohio State. Like it was just like, really? So It's been going on forever. I'm sure it's been going on before any of us knew what the hell college football recruiting was, but I love the pettiness. I hate when they do it to us, right? Because it's like, it's a good move. And then, but you do it back to them, and it's all in the grand scheme of things, just a lot of fun. It's all about perception. And in recruiting, perception's reality. So I love to see Sharon get in on it, because the more I think about it, and as we sit here talking about it, it feels a little bit orchestrated.
I think it is too. I think it was. And that's like, that is what makes the rivalry the best in the country right there. And that's where, like, I truly do feel, and somebody can clip this and tweet it back at me in November if things don't go our way. That's where I feel the rivalry has shifted. Like, obviously you see it in three wins in a row, but like, that's the shit that has happened to us in the past decade in the recruiting world, right? Is where, like, they're trolling us and going to Ohio State. We're now trolling them and they're coming to Michigan. And so, like, I don't know. I don't know if that's a sign of great things or not, or if I'm just looking too far into it, but I'll take it. I'll take that all day. Brady Hart, we already love you.
I couldn't have said it better. And the name. I mean, come on.
It's perfect.
Brady Hart?
Perfect.
His parents knew what they were doing.
They sure did.
They did.
Can I bring something up that's college sports related?
Bring us home.
I don't know if I'm going to bring us home, but I want to hear you guys' thoughts. I think this is absolutely ridiculous and just wild. Illinois is retiring Terrence Shannon Jr.'s jersey number.
Stop.
They put out an Instagram post, and it was like number 0, like to the rafters. Really good player.
What were his accomplishments?
They went to the Sweet 16 for the first time since YouTube was invented. That happened,
and that was it.
They went to the Sweet 16. Yeah,
I mean, that's the fucking win right there.
They went. Did they go to the Elite 8? Maybe just the Sweet 16. I don't remember.
I didn't follow.
That's wild, though. He played there 2 years.
I mean, Trey Burke was AP Player of the Year.
Well, it's because he didn't graduate. That's why his jersey's not in the rafters.
Okay, well, did Terrence Shannon Jr. graduate?
I would assume so. He's like a 5th-year guy. It's still wild. Yeah, no, it's still wild to me. I just saw that
situation there, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely terrible and very. I don't know if happy is the word, but glad that everything came to light. That's very scummy. So, no disrespect to Terrence Shannon Jr., hell of a basketball player. Just thought that's like Michigan retiring AJ Barner's jersey. Like, I love you, AJ Barner, but like, come on.
But even like, at least AJ Barner won a natty. He is like, AJ Barner has like 4 rings just from 1 year. Terrence Shannon Jr. does not.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was wild, man.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's how we take it.
Great job.
All right. Well, we'll be coming at you more often. Now, I mean, we've got a great microphone, great, not so great headset, good camera. So we'll be working on the headset part, but we'll be coming at you more often here. So for us, you can follow us at Blue by 90 on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Blue by 90 Podcast on YouTube, and blueby90.com. We appreciate you. Go Blue.
Go Blue.
Go Blue.